To be a Christian in the late 1st century was to live within a society that viewed your existence as a threat to public order. This arena was the endpoint of a systematic violence that saw early believers marginalized, imprisoned, and executed as enemies of the Roman state. This environment created a devastating psychological crisis. If the God of these believers was truly the creator of the universe, why did the powers of the earth seem so much more tangible and so much more lethal? The Book of Revelation was written to bridge this gap. It functions as an apocalypse, a literal unveiling, designed to show a suffering audience the spiritual machinery operating behind the facade of imperial strength. The 4th chapter of the book signals a shift in perspective. John is called through an open door in heaven, moving from the localized suffering of his churches to the central command post of all existence. At the center of this vision sits a throne. John identifies no human features here. He describes a presence defined by light, sparkling white like a diamond, and a deep, fiery red like sardius stone. This central throne is surrounded by 24 elders and 4 complex living creatures. Their ceaseless worship is perfectly ordered, contrasting the unpredictable terror that John's readers faced in their daily lives. This scene establishes a foundational claim. Regardless of how things look in the streets of the empire, the universe is anchored by absolute order and sovereign power. John notices a scroll in the right hand of the figure on the throne. Like this ancient text, it is covered in writing on both the inside and the back, but it is locked shut, sealed with 7 seals. This scroll represents God's ultimate plan for the direction of human history. The scene initially feels like a failure. An angel asks if anyone is worthy to break the seals, but no one in heaven or on earth responds. Without someone to open the scroll, history remains a locked mystery, and John begins to weep. The tension breaks when an elder announces that the Lion of Judah has overcome. But when John turns to see a predator, he sees only a lamb, one that bears the marks of being violently slaughtered. By dying a sacrificial death, the lamb has won the right to take the scroll. He is the only being in the vision qualified to break the seals and unleash history's final act. As the lamb breaks the first 4 seals, a voice like thunder summons the infamous 4 horsemen onto the global stage. The first rider on a white horse goes out to conquer, followed by a rider on a red horse who takes peace from the earth, forcing humanity into war. These riders represent the relentless march of border conquests and the flare-ups of civil conflict that defined the Roman era. Next comes a black horse holding scales, announcing a world where basic food costs a day's wages. This represents the crushing weight of economic hardship and famine that followed in the wake of war. Finally, a pale green horse appears, ridden by death. This figure brings the horrific culmination of the sword, hunger, and disease that the ancient world knew all too well. For an audience already living through border wars, crop failures, and the recurring grip of disease, these horsemen are familiar. By grouping them under the Lamb's authority, the vision recasts the chaotic, cyclical tragedies of the 1st century as a deliberate part of a world being shaken toward its end. The 5th seal shifts to the heavenly altar. Martyred believers cry out, asking how long they must wait for God to avenge their blood. They are given white robes, signs of victory, and told to rest until their number is complete. The breaking of the 6th seal triggers the unmaking of the cosmos. The ground gives way in a massive earthquake. The sun turns black as sackcloth, and the stars fall to earth like fruit from a shaken tree. On earth, all social hierarchies vanish. Kings and generals hide in caves alongside the enslaved and the poor. They scream for the mountains to fall on them, desperate to hide from the wrath of the Lamb. This universal terror ends with a single desperate question. The great day of their wrath has come, and who is able to stand? Before the final seal is broken, the narrative causes. 4 angels restrain the winds of destruction so that God can place a protective seal on the foreheads of his servants. John answers who can stand by offering 2 perspectives. First, he hears a census. 12 represents the totality of God's people. Squaring 12 and multiplying by 1,000 arrives at 144,000. This perfect census is a unified force, marked for protection. But looking closer, the rigid grid dissolves into an uncountable multitude from every nation, tribe, and language. This uncountable crowd is the same group of believers seen from a heavenly perspective. These are the ones who have emerged from the Great Tribulation, standing victorious before the throne as God wipes every tear from their eyes. Finally, the Lamb opens the seventh seal. But instead of immediate destruction, there is a half hour of absolute silence in heaven. This silence is a dramatic shift. The continuous songs of the heavenly court stop completely, so that God can listen to the prayers of the persecuted saints on earth. An angel mixes these prayers with fire from the altar and hurls them back to earth, triggering a new storm of thunder, lightning, and earthquakes. With the return of this fire, the vision reveals that the prayers of the persecuted literally shape the execution of cosmic justice. Earthly chaos is not random. God knows his own, and those who trust the Lamb will be the ones